Welcome in again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the R&D Sports Report. My name's Dishmond, and I'm joined, as always, by Rylee. Rylee, say hi to the people.
What's up?
All right, so tonight, Rylee and I discussed this, and we're going to do something a little bit different than we normally do. We're not going to cover a bunch of subjects because we think the most pressing one right now is the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break down each region and, for the most part, each matchup, kind of discuss, give our thoughts on each of them, and we'll go from there. So we'll see where this takes us, and we'll see. Each of us have filled out a bracket, and we're going to put something on this, some type of wager, but we haven't figured out quite what the wager is yet. We're going to figure that out before we end this, though.
And if you guys have a wager that you guys can think about, let us know.
So if we don't get it figured out by the end of this episode, we'll let you know what it is on the next episode this week, on the second episode. But I think the good place to start is probably on some of the teams that didn't get in.
Yeah.
Most notably, some that didn't get in, the bigger names would be U of L, USC, Southern California, and I'm drawing a blank on another one now. Notre Dame, probably be a big one. A team like a Middle Tennessee State, I think you could say it's a snub, but at the same time, they're kind of in one of those leagues where you get usually one in, and they didn't win their tournament, so
yeah,
kind of automatically almost knocks them out. And four teams like Louisville, like USC, you have some of these stealers, so to speak, in these smaller conferences where you have Davidson stole a bid, I think. I'm trying to think because they automatically qualified by winning their tournament, and I want to say it was with Rhode Island. Maybe they beat Rhode Island.
Is that it?
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think. Oh man, let's see. Hold on, because I'm looking at like Rhode Island on the bracket right now.
Right.
And you said that Rhode Island got in instead of Davidson?
No. They both got in.
Oh.
But I think Davidson maybe won that league. I'm trying to think of who automatically qualified and from where.
I think it might have been Rhode. I don't know.
This is great right here.
I know.
This is gold.
Exactly. I should make a random noise.
Yeah, let's not do
that. Come on.
We don't want to scare the people. Let's not.
I'm sorry. I'm not that scary. I promise.
I'm trying to think of where I can go to look this up.
While you're looking that up,
I was gonna say let's move on while we're looking that up, I guess.
While you're looking that up, I've been looking at the bracket, and it took me probably about a good 20 minutes to fill this thing out. To be honest with you, the way the seeds are, it is difficult figuring out who is gonna advance.
Well, I mean, it's wide open.
Exactly, and they're like all the good teams are so spread out that they're either going up a really crappy team or they're going up a team, going up against a team that's really good or is about the same as the other team, and it's difficult. Like, I think it was I think I had UK beating Davidson and then Arizona beating Buffalo, so it's gonna be UK and Arizona, and it was so hard to figure out who's gonna advance. And to be honest with you, I feel like they're both great and skillful teams. But I had Arizona going. Now, granted, I think Kentucky's a great team. They really are. And I also think Arizona's a great team. It was just so hard to pick. And the example of that is just, like that. It's just so hard picking which team is going to advance.
All right, so let's real quick hop back to some of these teams that got in that we didn't think would have gotten in, like Oklahoma.
I remember watching the video. They were so hyped that they got in.
Well, they were, but if you notice, like nobody gives a 5 or daps or anything to Trae Young for like a solid 15, 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
He just sits there and everybody else is jumping up and down.
I know. And I'm like, really?
But
wow.
I think the thing with like Oklahoma is they'd lost like 8 of their last 10 games, if you include, I think, the tournament. Oh, excuse me. I thought I was done. Apparently not. But if oh my goodness,
having trouble there?
Hey, I'll get over here. All right, but Oklahoma, right? They limped into the tournament, right? They weren't on this upward trajectory like a team like you were talking about a second ago, like Kentucky appears to be.
Yeah.
Right? Kentucky appears to be on that upward trajectory toward peaking at the right time, and then Oklahoma seems to be going down. I heard a stat the other day, and it was... I'm trying to think of the team. It was Oklahoma, I believe. It was them or Arizona State. I think it was Oklahoma, though. Hadn't won a road game since, like, back in December. So since the 2018 calendar year, they hadn't won a game away from home.
Wow.
And I believe it was Oklahoma. So, like, Oklahoma limped in, but a team like Davidson, and I finally found it. Thank you, Google. They won in the Atlantic 10 tournament. They beat Rhode Island. Now, a team like Rhode Island had to get in because they had been in the top 25 and been right around that the entire year. So, like, you couldn't exclude Rhode Island, but typically the A10 is not going to get multiple bids in. Now, they actually got 3 bids in, but they probably should have only had 2 in. So the 3 bids from the A10 are Davidson, Rhode Island, and St. Bonaventure. So Davidson, right, by winning the Atlantic 10 championship, right, they stole a bid.
Yeah.
From what could have been a USC or University of Louisville. That easily was one of those, and you had a couple other ones, but that was the one that popped in my head first. But at the same time, right, you have a team in Arizona State who I think finished 9th in the Pac-12. 9th.
Wow.
You know where USC finished?
No.
2nd.
What? How does that... No.
Because Arizona State, here's how this happens, is because a lot of weight is put on early season games, right? How they played in November instead of how they've been playing in February.
Yeah.
So Arizona State had a massive win in November. But USC had some issues with suspensions, right? They were involved in this FBI probe and had some issues here and there. But they've been playing their best basketball now.
Yeah, like, well, if we're going down, we might as well go out with a bang.
And, and for a team like Louisville, right, they've been kind of up and down all season.
Yes, they
have. So they never really hit a stride.
Yeah,
right?
they never found that
rhythm. They didn't peak in November, but they didn't really peak in February either.
Right.
They've been just kind of up and down. And for them, I think, right, obviously you look to the Virginia game. You win that game, you're easily in.
Oh, yeah.
To lose that game, it's going to hurt, and it obviously did, but at the same time, that's not the only game that they could have won.
Oh, yeah, there's been plenty of games where it's been so close.
One of them, I think, was Seton Hall for them that they could have won. Syracuse, they could have won, right? Syracuse gets in.
Yeah.
And I look at Syracuse, Arizona State, and I go, why are those two in? Why not a U of L and USC matchup right there? Right?
Right.
And, Arizona State just has this massive weight put on their November schedule. So, I think we have to find this balance, obviously, and this bracket I don't think is fully balanced in any stretch of the imagination, right?
No, I would totally agree with you on that.
There are parts of different regions that are heavy at the top and not heavy at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? If we take an example, and you were talking about it a minute ago, the South. Well, the 1, 4, and 5 in that top portion are Virginia, Kentucky, Arizona. Kentucky and Arizona, right, kind of starting to really hit their stride.
Yeah.
Virginia is supposed to be the number 1 overall seed. Congratulations, you get Arizona, Kentucky in the round of, 32? Yeah. In the round of 32, you get either Arizona or Kentucky most likely. Congratulations for being the number 1 overall seed.
I don't like that, man. I feel like it's way unbalanced. Like you look at the West, they got Michigan and North Carolina. And you have Xavier and
speaking
Gonzaga.
of Xavier, that's who I was thinking of earlier in the season.
Oh, Xavier?
It was Xavier with Arizona State. Arizona State beat Xavier in Vegas early in the season. That's what they get big props for. And they also get props for a December win against Kansas, at Kansas. So, right, they're getting a lot of praise from there. But, let's see how they finished out the season. They lost to Colorado, lost to Stanford, beat Cal, and let's see, their last 5 games, and let's exclude the tournament, okay? So the Pac-12 tournament, they went.
So you talking about Xavier or Syracuse?
Arizona State.
Okay, gotcha.
Completely different team altogether.
No kidding.
All right, so they went one win out of their last 5 games in the regular season. Now that starts with Arizona, so they lost at Arizona, at Oregon State. They beat California at home, by the way.
Wow.
And they lost to Stanford at home.
That's crazy.
You're telling me a team that is limping in to the tournament deserves to be there over a team like a USC, right, who had been making their way kind of up and on the uptrend especially.
Man, I agree with you. I feel like it's been really unbalanced. I feel like they didn't do so well with the whole NCAA tournament, overall. I don't like it. I feel like I just feel like the seeding was bad. I feel like having, like you said earlier, you got Virginia, Kentucky, and Arizona. That's 3 teams in just one region. And
that's not even. That's just in the top half of that region,
right?
You go Cincinnati's the 2, Tennessee's the 3, and then even Miami at the 6. Like, that region's not exactly easy. Now, I don't think there's a region that's a cupcake region.
No.
But there's also not, like, fair and balanced out the thing. My biggest problem is I don't know why we don't rank the teams 1 through 68.
I would
Because you're telling me USC and Louisville aren't one of the best 68 teams in the country? But here is also the other factor, is that I think it's 32 automatic bids. Right? You get 32 automatic bids from the conferences. So typically most of them the conference tournaments. So that's how a Davidson, right, gets in
right
into the tournament, and their congratulation prize, and their, you made the NCAA tournament, now you get Kentucky, who appears to be peaking at the right time in the first round. Congratulations for making the NCAA tournament.
Well, the problem is like, putting someone like Kentucky or even Arizona, putting them in against, I mean, because you would think Kentucky would beat Davidson and Arizona would beat, who are they facing? Hold on. They're facing Buffalo. So you would think that both of them are going to advance. So you pretty much know that Arizona and UK are going to be facing each other. I just don't like that. Granted, it's going to be a good game, but I just don't. I feel like you're not having your own kind of momentum going in the tournament. You know, I feel like, okay, after this one, you know who we're going to face. Yay. You know, that kind of thing.
Well, I think when you look at just Kentucky-Arizona, for example, you're like, really, you're telling me the committee doesn't, like, try to set these matchups up?
Exactly.
Right? You look and you go, seriously, second round, which, like, come on now.
No, if it was like the Elite Eight, that'd be, you know, or not the Elite Eight, the,
even Sweet 16.
Exactly. Like, that'd be good. But to do that, like, that's just, I feel like that's really selfish.
Well, I mean, come on. We all know what it's really about.
Money.
Exactly. I mean, that's literally got to. You're going to get primetime ratings right there for UK Arizona if that happens. Now, I'll say with Kentucky and Arizona, right? Kentucky's got a decent task in Davidson. You can't look past them, and Arizona can't look past Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know, granted, neither team, Davidson most famous for having Steph Curry, but Steph Curry ain't walking through those doors and playing for Davidson either.
Nope.
But I think another thing before we kind of dive into this that we have to talk about this. This is the selection show.
Did you watch any of that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. Like, I watched probably a good 10 minutes of it. Just because, well, one, I was in school, so I didn't get able to watch it. But I just, I wasn't really too keen on watching it, to be honest with you. What did you think about it?
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this nicely, but it was just awful. You know, you pan in to see the audience, right? A live studio audience, right?
Right.
And at that point, you're like, ah, crap.
Yeah.
Like, you know it's going to be awful then. And so you're like, oh, geez. Live studio, like, what is this? A live taping of a comedy, right?
Right.
And so we just, it wasn't working for me from there. And then to spend forever on automatic bids, like, come on now. I don't need to go automatic bid by automatic bid, alphabetical order, and you tell me what teams earned their right to be in. Because for the most part, if you've been really kind of even following at all, you already know who makes it for each one, right?
Right.
If you watch, any sports network, they tell you who just qualified. So I think you could have just gone, oh, here's automatic qualifiers, boom, here's all of them, instead of going one by one by one.
Right.
Like that was the annoying thing. And then for the at-large bids, right, you do the same thing. You do the portions of alphabetical order, and you're like, okay. So then you get to, for like instance, for Louisville, right? You get past that, and you go, well, they're not in.
Yeah.
U of L fans just went click and turned over to something else.
Exactly.
Especially going in alphabetical order, you weren't like holding in suspense.
No.
There's no randomness. And, Notre Dame fans, when they got there, click. USC fans, click. Like, there was no suspense really to it because you realized that it was in alphabetical order.
I feel like that's really dumb. I didn't watch it, but I feel like that's really stupid. I just like they care about their ratings, but at the same time, I guess they aren't smart enough to think about what's going to happen. Like you're going through, you said alphabetical order, right?
They went through alphabetical order on them.
So you would think like you said. So Notre Dame. If I was a Notre Dame fan, and I heard that, I think I might just go in my room and chill. Like, why would I want to sit there and watch my team get knocked out of the tournament? You know, even though...
Well, you see that bubble burst, right?
Exactly. And you know, you just kind of feel bad for them. And you know, I personally went on Twitter and I looked over the whole selection show. But I could tell a lot of fans were disappointed. Nobody likes being in the NIT. I'm just going to say it straight, but I just don't care for how the NCAA works through the tournament.
I don't like how they work through the tournament now. I think it is important to kind of note that selection show, right, being produced by TBS, that's, you know, what it was on this year. I don't know why we can't just go back to here's this region, here's that region. You know, here's the South, here's the East, here's the West, here's the Midwest. Right? Why can't we just go back to that?
Because all they care about is ratings, and it's selfishness, bro.
But I think it also goes back to a couple years ago when they were dumb and they tried to do 2 hours of it and the bracket got leaked. Right?
That's funny.
If you keep it at an hour, you do each region, well, then you have U of L, Notre Dame, and USC fans holding on. Say the Midwest, right, is the last one there. You have everybody holding on just to see, are we going to make it, right?
Right.
We've gone through the South, the East, and the West. There's still the Midwest, right? We can still hold out hope to make it into the Midwest region. And then you see it, and it's like, so, you know, by that time, you can maybe get halfway through an hour show.
Right. And
you go for 30 minutes revealing, that's, you know, half of it. And, you know, it's like, you can then do your breakdown of it for the next half hour.
What if they did a timer? And I thought of this a couple days ago. What if they did a timer and they, like, released every team every, I don't know, minute? Well, I mean, that's a lot of teams in a minute, but how about, like, 20 seconds, right? You gotta wait 20 seconds to see if your team's in. I just thought of that, and, you know, it just came to my mind. I was thinking yesterday, I was like, that'd be kind of cool.
Well, I mean, you could do, like, in the South, right? You could do the 116 matchup, right? And get people excited that way and go, the 1 seed. Or you can tell us, okay, the 1 seeds are Virginia, Villanova, Xavier, and Kansas. You can tell us what order they're in. I don't care about that. And then you go, okay, we're going to start with the overall number 1 seed, Virginia. And their matchup is the 16 seed. And not that it really matters, right? Because no 16 seed has ever beat a 1 seed.
But, I mean, that'd be kind of cool. You never know. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, that'd jack up my whole bracket.
It'd probably jack up a lot of people's brackets. But for Virginia, right, they now are kind of limping in with their latest injury here to their 6th man. But the selection show, I don't know why you have to mess with it. The seeding-wise, I don't know why once you have all you know, you get the automatic qualifiers, then okay. So if there's, 32 automatic qualifiers, that leaves me, 66? Or no, 36. 36 spots for 68 teams, right?
Right.
So you put those 32 aside and you go, okay, excluding those 32 that won their tournaments, what are my best 36 teams left? You line them all up, right?
Right.
And then you take those and you mash them with the other and you go, okay, we're going to rank these 1 through 68. And then you go, okay, here's Virginia's bracket. So Virginia is the 1 seed. So they're the number 1 overall seed. Well, then they get, the lowest 2 seed. Right? The lowest ranking 2 seed. So you kind of snake it back and forth to try and balance this out. Because if Kansas is the 4th number 1 seed, right, they should then get the strongest 2 seed.
Right.
Because you're saying there's not a whole lot of difference between 4 and 5, basically.
Well,
in that scenario.
Well, and that also changes the matchups ahead, So, you got to think, for many years, it's always been usually the same Final Four. Duke, Kentucky, Michigan, Michigan State, maybe even Louisville.
North Carolina.
Exactly. And I just feel like if they would switch up the seeds, right, they would get teams that haven't been in the championship before and have them in there. Granted, the ratings might not be as great as they probably want it to be, but they would figure it out. And I feel like if they had something different in there, that'd be really cool. And that also give a chance for teams to actually win the championship and feel that moment for smaller teams that are not as good.
All right, so with our discussion of the bracket, right, we obviously know it won't get fixed because it's about money, and they probably just don't really care about our opinion in general.
True.
But I think it's time to dive in here to the brackets.
Here we go.
To dive into our picks. So let's start off, and we're going to work the left side of our bracket first, and then we're going to work the east side of the bracket. So if you're listening, feel free to steal any of our picks and any of our rationales of why you want to pick them. So let's start off here, right? Virginia automatically advances. We can just write them in, right? We don't even have to go through that, right?
Right.
So next one is Creighton, Kansas State. Who you got?
I said Kansas State.
Any certain reason, or?
No, I just, back a couple episodes, we were talking about that excitement, that upset that you weren't expecting. And I feel like going with a lower seed team, that's close to being like Creighton is a good win. I feel like anything can happen.
Well, and that's what I kind of find funny here when we talk the 8-9 matchup, right? What you're pretty much saying is they're equal, right, in that region. Those teams are equal, but if Kansas State wins because they're the 9, right, it's all of a sudden an upset then.
Yeah.
But I have Creighton going through.
Is that who you picked?
Yeah, that's who I picked.
Cool.
So Creighton goes and advances against Kansas State.
Okay. Are we just going down?
Yeah.
Okay, straight down. So we got Kentucky and Davidson. Of course, I picked UK. Of course, who did you pick?
Kentucky.
Okay. Arizona and Buffalo. I'm guessing you picked Arizona as well.
I did.
Okay.
I so badly wanted to pick Buffalo.
Right.
Well, because I try to almost always pick an upset, and I think when you just try too hard to pick an upset, it usually fails on you.
Exactly. You get bashed down.
I don't. DeAndre Ayton, I think, is so good. I don't think Buffalo will have anything for them.
No.
I think the same thing for Davidson. Kentucky's length, and they're peaking at the right time, I think will be too much for Davidson to handle.
I would totally agree with you, man.
So our next one is Miami and Loyola Chicago.
Well, I think we know who we picked. I picked Miami. Who did you pick?
I picked Miami as well.
I feel like they're starting to get going as well. Like, everybody's pretty much getting
their engines some of them
for the NCAA tournament.
I now look at this as we're talking about it, and I go, I just kind of want to pick Loyola Chicago.
Right.
Well, and only just because you seem to get more of our upsets out of the 6-11 matchup, but I think there are other 6-11 matchups that could be a better choice for an upset. But both of us picked Miami there.
So we got Tennessee and Wright State.
Tennessee's tough.
Yeah. Now, I'll be honest with you. It took me about 5 minutes just to figure out this one because, again, talking about upsets.
Well, and trying to predict them right.
Exactly, and of course you don't want to be wrong. So, seeing this, I was like, granted, Tennessee recently just lost to Kentucky, right?
Yeah, in the SEC championship, but at the same time, it wasn't like they got blown out, right?
Exactly.
It was a hard fought game.
Right. It was definitely a good game. I think I watched a couple of minutes of that, but anyways, back to the bracket. I think that Tennessee's a great team. Of course, I don't really watch Wright State, but seeing that, I picked Tennessee just because I knew that they were a big powerhouse. But I wouldn't put anything to Wright State. They might have this.
All right, Nevada, Texas.
I picked Nevada.
I picked Nevada as well. Texas is one of those other teams, right? If you look at their record, 19-14 on the year. How do you get in?
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with Alabama, but I think Alabama made a better case for themselves. Now, that's just how. But I think Alabama made a better case for themselves in the SEC tournament.
I would agree.
So, we have, getting back to the correct side of the bracket, the next one would be Cincinnati, Georgia State.
Of course, I picked Cincinnati.
I picked Cincinnati as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if this could be a 2-15 upset, only because of Georgia State Hunter. Is it Ron Hunter? I think is his name. The head coach down at Georgia State. I saw where he made comments, right, and it was speaking to the effect of they got told just a day or so ago that Cincinnati was staying at the Hyatt. They had to stay at the Comfort Inn. Cincinnati could eat at Ruth Chris, but they had to eat at Wendy's. And he said, but you better believe come Friday we're going to be ready. Right? So I think he's going to try to use that as a motivational factor for his team. I think Cincinnati in the end, even though I think their schedule may not have been as tough, and I'm not saying Georgia State's was tough by any means, but I think Cincinnati just in the end will be too much for Georgia State.
I would agree. I feel like they're a bigger powerhouse, to face. But, the coach saying that kind of gives me chills, to be honest with you, because I'm like,
well, it gets you fired up.
Right. Don't win, but, to figure out an upset, I'd kind of be happy with it. But then again, you're messing up my bracket, so I have mixed feelings for you.
All right. Do you want to finish out the East, or we want to go down to the West?
I don't know. I say we go down in the West.
All right, we'll do this round by round then. So first off, in the West, you have the one Xavier versus either Texas Southern or North Carolina Central. That's not really a choice there, is it?
No, not really.
Here's the thing.
Who is that?
Nobody ever wrote, right, a 1 over nobody ever wrote a 15 over a 2 until it happened.
Unless, that's your team and you just...
Right, yeah.
You're that prideful in your team.
Yeah, exactly. In the case in the East, unless you go to Georgia State and you go, I'm just going to play this Georgia State card, you're not going to...
Like your backup
you
bracket.
Wouldn't have picked, well, and you wouldn't have picked it until it happened. But once again, a 1 has never been beaten by 16. So until it happens, I won't ever think about writing it down. I just automatically give the 1 that first round game.
I would agree.
This next one, even though records are similar, I don't know that it'll really be a game. Missouri, Florida State.
Now, I'm going to tell you this. U of L had just beaten Florida State. And I'm like, really? Now, I sat there for a couple minutes thinking, Missouri's a great team. and Florida State is kind of an up and down team. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, they're like, okay, we got this, and no, we don't. And we got this, and no, we don't. And I picked, let's see. I picked Missouri because I feel like Florida State won't have the skill to face Missouri.
Well, I think for Missouri, at the SEC tournament, you got Michael Porter Jr. back after he had missed the entire regular season, all but 2 minutes of that first game. But I think to have time to kind of work him into the offense this little bit, I think they'll be ready for Florida State. I also look at the coaching matchup here, and I go, Conzo Martin, I believe, is better than, was it Lorenzo Romar?
Yeah, I believe so.
Down at, or look that up real quick.
Okay.
Here, I'll do it. I got it. I got this in front of me. That way you can keep watching the game. By the way, we are watching the one of the first 4 inning games. We are watching St. Bonaventure versus UCLA, with St. Bonaventure being up at halftime right now. So, Florida. Hope if I spell Florida right. Florida State.
Now, while you're searching that up, I will be honest with you. I looked at the records.
Leonard Hamilton.
Is that it?
Did I say Lorenzo Romar?
Yeah, you said that, and what's the other one that you said? I can't remember.
Conzo Martin is at Missouri. I know that. Lorenzo Romar is down at Arizona. I don't know why. Like, I guess because we had gone through Arizona, that popped in my head. He's an assistant down there.
Gotcha.
But you have a Florida State team coming into this. Leonard Hamilton, who I just really believe is not a good coach at all. They get beat in the ACC tournament by Louisville, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
When they were the 8th seed and Louisville was the 9, they get beat by 8. And they make it in. Right?
That kind of makes no sense, to be honest with you. But whatevs.
Yeah, and record-wise, they had kind of the same overall record, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. I guess Florida State got the benefit of the doubt, but Missouri, and I wouldn't be surprised if that game is a blowout in Missouri's favor, because Missouri can put up the scoring. So
they definitely have a good team.
Ohio State and South Dakota State.
I'm going to be straight honest with you. I picked South Dakota in my bracket.
I'm going to be honest with you, too.
Oh.
I did the same thing.
Oh, let's go.
I do not believe at all in Ohio State. They are one of those Big Ten teams that I think the Big Ten was kind of weak this year.
Yeah.
And I just think they're overvalued.
Well, and you look at the record. Let's see. Ohio State was 24-8, and then South Dakota State was 28-6.
Plus, if you were just picking off of mascots, right? How can you not pick the Jackrabbits over the Buckeyes?
True. And picking this, it was definitely, I wouldn't say hard for me, but it kind of, I second thought it.
Well, you went, do I really want to do South Dakota State?
Exactly, yeah.
Or do I just want to go with the numbers? But I went with South Dakota State as well.
I just feel like they might have the skill to pull it out. Then we got Gonzaga and UNCG.
Yeah, it's University of North Carolina, Greensboro, I believe.
Ah, that's it. I couldn't think of the abbreviation. But, of course, I picked Gonzaga.
I picked Gonzaga as well.
Gonzaga's been pretty good this year. When did they win? I think they won when did they win the title? Was it 2 years ago?
No, they didn't. They didn't win the title. They were in the title game.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Was that? Was it Xavier? No. Was it Villanova Gonzaga?
Yeah,
is that
that's
who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2 years ago because North Carolina won it last year.
Yeah.
But I have Gonzaga in that one as well. And then you go down to Houston, San Diego State.
I said San Diego.
I said Houston, but I kind of wanted San Diego State.
I just went big. Go big or go
I
home.
wanted that, but I felt like I already did the South Dakota State. I needed to go Houston there. So I went Houston, and I wouldn't be surprised, though, if I'm wrong in this one, and it is San Diego State. But then you have Michigan, Montana.
Of course, I got Michigan.
I have Michigan as well. I think they are kind of also peaking, hitting their own stride at the right time.
Yeah, they are.
So I think Michigan gets on, advances kind of easily there. Texas A&M, Providence.
I said Providence.
I said Texas A&M.
I just, I've seen some of Providence game, and I've also seen some of Texas A&M game. I kind of want the upset for Texas A&M.
You are
I'm
upset
going.
heavy in the West.
Oh, dude, I'm going for it. Go big
I
or
mean,
go home.
I don't know if you're going to tell me next that Lincecum is beating North Carolina.
No.
Okay, all right.
It's a definite win for North Carolina.
All right. But it makes you think, though, because you almost want to always try to pick a 215, right?
Exactly.
And if I were picking a 215 out of this entire bracket, I think I'd go with Georgia State over Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if that'll happen this year.
No.
All right, so you have an upset in the West. You have, 3 upsets? You have South Dakota State, you have San Diego State,
And Providence.
And you have Providence. So you have 3 upsets happening if you go by the numbers in the West. You have 1 in the East.
Yep.
All right, and so we're going to hop back up here to the second round here. We're going to go back up on the left side. We're going to go back up to the South. And I have Virginia Creighton. You have Virginia Kansas State, right?
Yeah.
Do you have Virginia winning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have Virginia winning as well, even though they lost, right, kind of the one player who had been their 6th man for the year. DeAndre Harris, I believe is his name. And so they, that's a pretty big blow to them. Oh, Hunter, sorry. Wrong last name. I am not good with last names or names tonight. But they lose their freshman guard and DeAndre Hunter, right? He suffered a broken wrist apparently in the ACC tournament.
Sorry, my dude.
So he had appeared in all 33 games, and he was averaging 9.2 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.1 assists. He won the 6th man of the year for the ACC. I think that's a big loss. And I think that's a big loss for them.
Oh yeah, it is. But I feel like himself, he finished strong.
Yeah, and so I think that's a big loss for them, and something that could become a factor. Even in a Creighton Kansas State matchup, it could play a factor into it. But then down you have this big matchup, right? This big matchup in the second round. It's probably going to be on primetime TV.
Oh, yeah.
You and I both have it. It's UK
and Arizona.
Who you got?
And I'm going to be straight honest with you. You took me a good 20 minutes to figure this one out, man. Because they're both great teams. Both great coaches. I picked Arizona. I felt like they have the momentum. And I feel like with, UK slowly finding their stride.
I went with Kentucky.
You went with Kentucky?
Because I don't know. Really, I have no justification for this. Only that I'm kind of a fan, obviously. But I went with Kentucky also because I just think maybe overall they have more balance in the talent. I think DeAndre Ayton will be an issue for Kentucky to play against. But at the same time, right, Kentucky's got a couple good guards in Quade Green and Shea Alexander. And, a lot of times, especially in the NCAA tournament, guards play the biggest role, right? It seems to be a guard-heavy tournament.
Yeah, they do.
And if you have the guards, that's typically going to lead you to victory. So I went with Kentucky over Arizona. But what should be a good game if we get there, obviously, because they both still have first-round games to get through first. But then I have Miami, Tennessee. You have the same thing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And your winner of that one?
Miami.
I went with Miami as well, although this one tore me up almost as much as the UK-Arizona one because I wanted to go Tennessee.
But you want the upset as well.
Well, and yeah, I want the upset as well. And I almost went Tennessee, but I ended up going Miami as well. So then we both had Nevada and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
You picked
Cincinnati.
I picked Nevada.
Really?
I did.
I don't know. I just have this thing going for Cincinnati.
I think Cincinnati may have an inflated record in the sense like Gonzaga's had the issue with before. Nobody big time wanted to schedule them because their name wasn't known enough, so to speak. But I don't know. I picking an upset here and going with Nevada over Cincinnati. So then we both have Xavier, Mizzou. You went with
Xavier.
I went with Xavier as well. We both had South Dakota State and Gonzaga.
I had Gonzaga win.
I had Gonzaga winning, even though I wanted to kind of keep the momentum with the Jackrabbits.
Right.
I have Houston. You have San Diego State. Michigan. Does that matter at all to you, or you go Michigan?
I went with Michigan.
I went with Michigan as well. They think, are hitting their stride. You went Providence, North Carolina.
North Carolina for the win.
I went Texas A&M, North Carolina. Doesn't change anything for me. North Carolina in that game. And so if we hop back up into the Sweet 16 now, on the South and West brackets, Virginia, Kentucky for me. I have Kentucky beating Virginia. Part of it being because Virginia lost their sixth man, and the other part is I think Virginia's defense is good, and they can kind of try to change the style of play, but I think Kentucky has the athletes and the talent overall to be able to change that style of play and also be able to attack that Virginia defense. What you had Virginia, Arizona.
Yes, I did. And the reason for that is I think it's going to be a great matchup, to be honest with you, because if you got Arizona and Virginia.
Well, I think either Arizona, Virginia, or Virginia, Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky and Arizona almost play at somewhat of a similar style.
Yeah, they do.
So, who did you pick to win? Did you go Arizona?
Yeah, I did.
And
the reason I picked Virginia is because I think it was a couple weeks ago, and not to bring Louisville back up, but Louisville was close to beating them, and I believe someone stepped out of bounds or moved on the out of bounds.
Yeah, they moved when they weren't supposed to, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, with that being said, knowing that Louisville isn't a great team, I just don't feel like Virginia has it. And yeah, the sixth man does.
I think that it. Well, I think that could be a huge loss for them.
Right, a huge factor. Yeah.
But we'll continue moving on here. I had Miami, Nevada. You have Miami, Cincinnati.
Yep.
What'd you go with there on yours?
I went big and went with Miami.
Well, we're both in agreement because I picked Miami over Nevada there. So it seems if we pick a couple off here and there, we end up with the same. Going down to the West in the Sweet 16, I have Xavier, Gonzaga. You have the same thing as well, yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went Xavier.
I went Gonzaga.
That could be a big one, but if it holds out on your bracket, right, you have two number ones on this side of the bracket losing out in the Sweet 16.
I'm going big, man. I'm going big or go home.
Yeah, you do have some bold predictions there. And then we have Michigan, North Carolina. That's what you have as well, correct?
Yep.
North Carolina. I think Michigan's luck runs out there.
I'm going to say Michigan. I feel like they might have a flame still going by the time they get to North Carolina.
You have upset on the mind.
Oh, yeah. Dude, this tournament is going to be so freaking exciting.
I hope so.
It's going to be so good. And if you think of all the upsets, it's going to change everybody's luck on the tournament. They're going to be like, oh, okay. Okay, Michigan State is – or Michigan. Michigan? They won against North Carolina? Are you serious? Really? Wow. All right.
All right.
That's how it's going to be.
So our Elite Eights then in the South and the West, Kentucky – Miami for me. I think Kentucky, and I know it seems like a homer pick, right, being the fan of Kentucky, but I honestly think, even if I almost chose Arizona, I think Kentucky-Arizona winner goes to the Final Four. And for me on my bracket, I went Kentucky, so I think Kentucky gets to the Final Four. If on your bracket, you had Arizona, right? I assume they go to the Final Four, right?
Yes, they do.
So the committee obviously did no favors to Virginia in giving them Kentucky and Arizona in their top half of the bracket there. But I honestly believe if we get this Kentucky-Arizona matchup, winner of that goes to the Final Four. For me, that's Kentucky. For you, that's Arizona.
Yep. And
then down to the West in the Elite Eight, I have Xavier, North Carolina. You have
Gonzaga,
Xavier.
Michigan.
You have Gonzaga, Michigan. That's right. Who's winning out of yours?
I'm going again, Michigan.
Man, you are riding this Michigan train.
I just feel like they have that flame right now. I'm kind of excited for them.
I went North Carolina over Xavier. For me, that's where Xavier's kind of luck runs out. Even though I know in an earlier time, I predicted Xavier, I believe, to get to the Final Four. I think after seeing their draw, I think it's North Carolina. All right, so let's go to the right side of the bracket, to the East and to the Midwest. Starting out in the East, Villanova and who won that game? Radford, I think?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Villanova wins, right?
Oh, yeah.
Virginia Tech, Alabama.
I said Virginia Tech.
I said Alabama.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, you wanted the upsets. I picked an upset there.
I
also think Colin Sexton, once again, guard play, NCAA tournament. I think it will play out there.
I feel like Virginia Tech has more coaching skills, though.
I could maybe agree with you on that, but Avery Johnson, right, has also been in the NBA, played
True.
And coached. So, Alabama is a good team.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And I think either one of those, Virginia Tech, Alabama, I think will give Villanova a game in that second round.
Yeah. Now, if I did another bracket, I'd probably have Alabama going instead of Virginia Tech. But
all right, West Virginia, Murray State.
I said West Virginia.
Press Virginia all the way, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wichita State, Marshall.
I said Wichita State.
I said Marshall.
Bro. Dude.
I just want Marshall to beat Greg Marshall. Ha. Gets it.
Wow. That was bad. That was bad.
All right, and
all your bad jokes are making you cough, dagnabbit.
Yeah, I know. And then you have Florida versus the winner of St. Bonaventure UCLA, which is going on right now, and we are in a dead tie. Give me just a second here. I think St. Bonaventure is going to win this game.
Yeah.
In the end, and I have St. Bonaventure going on to beat Florida right now. It is tied at 34-34 with 15-21 left in the second half. So I have St. Bonaventure winning.
I have UCLA winning.
And who do you have against Florida winning?
I picked UCLA. I just feel like they might have that of, again, that flame that,
Well, I went with St. Bonaventure, so we're kind of on the same track there as far as upset. And then we have Texas Tech versus Stephen F. Austin.
I said Texas Tech.
I said Texas Tech as well. That defense, I think, is going to be tough for Stephen F. Austin. Arkansas Butler.
I said Butler.
I went Arkansas. I think they are just a tough team and can score.
I look at Butler as like a brick wall for people. Like they're hard to get by.
Could be. Purdue, Cal State, Fullerton.
I said Purdue.
I said Purdue as well, even though we'll get into it here in a minute. I don't think Purdue makes it much farther. Kansas, Penn.
I said Kansas.
Look, the Brainiacs can be there at Penn, and I still think Kansas wins, right?
Oh, yeah.
Seton Hall, North Carolina State.
I had Seton Hall.
I went North Carolina State.
Was I mean to you earlier?
Hey, you were picking upsets on the other side. This is my bracket.
True.
This is my side, I guess, to pick the upsets.
Pretty much.
Clemson, New Mexico State.
I said Clemson.
I said New Mexico State because I think Clemson's garbage.
Could be. I mean, it'd be a good upset.
Auburn, Charleston.
I said Auburn.
I said Auburn as well, although they are also kind of limping in to the tournament.
Yeah, they are.
TCU, Arizona State, or Syracuse.
I said TCU.
I said TCU. I didn't really care who won, Arizona State or Syracuse.
No.
Although I think Arizona State might have the better case against TCU, just for whatever reason. Bobby Hurley down there at Arizona State, but I still think it's TCU. Michigan State, Bucknell.
I said Michigan State, and the reason I said that is just because I feel like Miles Bridges is just unstoppable right now.
I went Michigan State as well. I think they've started to figure things out, and as I've said many times, hitting that stride. Rhode Island, Oklahoma. I
said Oklahoma. I feel like Trae Young might have it in him.
I said Rhode Island because Oklahoma doesn't deserve to be in this. Duke, Iona.
I said Duke.
I so badly wanted to pick Iona, but I went Duke. All right, back up to the top. Now, I have Villanova, Alabama. You have Villanova, Virginia Tech. Does it matter?
No, not really. I have Villanova winning, but...
I have Villanova winning, but in my own mind, I have this game as a very tight, contested game.
Oh, yeah.
I have West Virginia, Marshall. You have West Virginia, Wichita State.
I have Wichita State advancing.
I have West Virginia.
I just don't think they have it in them, dude.
I don't think Wichita State does either. I don't
like
really think they've played anybody.
Is like making me stressed out, man.
I have St. Bonaventure, Texas Tech.
I have UCLA, Texas Tech, and I have Texas Tech moving on.
I have Texas Tech as well. I have Arkansas, Purdue. I have Arkansas beating Purdue. Second round, Purdue's out.
I have Butler and Purdue, and I feel like Purdue's going to win it.
All right, and I have Kansas, North Carolina State.
I have Kansas and Seton Hall.
I have Kansas winning.
I do too.
New Mexico State, Auburn for me. I have New Mexico State beating Auburn to make it to the Sweet 16.
I have Clemson losing to Auburn and Auburn going on to the Sweet 16.
TCU, Michigan State. We both have that.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State, right?
Oh, yeah.
Rhode Island, Duke.
No, I said Oklahoma, Duke. Duke's moving on.
I think either way, yeah, Duke's moving on. Duke, I think, just has so much talent.
Oh, yeah.
As long as Grayson Allen doesn't hurt anybody in the near future.
Or apparently trip somebody,
Yeah, throw your butt into him, whatever. And going back up to the top in our Sweet 16, Villanova, West Virginia for me.
Villanova, Wichita State for me.
I have West Virginia beating Villanova.
I have Villanova moving on.
And then I have Texas Tech, Arkansas. I have Texas Tech winning.
I have Texas Tech beating Purdue.
And then we go back down to the Midwest. I have Kansas, New Mexico State. I think the magic runs out here for New Mexico State. Kansas wins.
I have a feeling that Kansas is going to choke and Auburn's going to get the win.
Could be. They are kind of known for doing that, or making a massive run. So.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan State, Duke. I had the hardest time with this one.
I had a big problem with that because I got the same one as well. It was difficult for me, but I picked Duke.
I went Duke as well. Against kind of my, guard play wins games in the NCAA tournament mantra, I think Duke just out-talents Michigan State.
I would agree.
In the Elite Eight in the East, I have West Virginia, Texas Tech.
I have Villanova, Texas Tech.
And I went Texas Tech.
Are you serious?
To the Final Four.
No, Villanova's going to the Final Four for me.
And then down at the bottom, Kansas, Duke. That's what you had as well, right?
No, I had Auburn.
No, you had Auburn. That's right. Kansas stumbled. I have Kansas, Duke. Duke wins. You have Auburn, Duke. Who wins?
Duke.
All right, so Final Fours. I have Kentucky, North Carolina, Texas Tech, Duke. What do you have?
I have Arizona, Michigan, and Villanova and Duke.
All right, so completely kind of different here. The only common one I think that we have is Duke, right?
Pretty much.
So with that being said there, I have North Carolina, Kentucky. I have Kentucky winning just because I think for them it can be an out-talent kind of thing. I think North Carolina's talent's there. Joel Berry is good.
I feel like Berry's going to carry the team, though.
And he might, but at the same time, I think Shea Alexander has really been hitting his stride for Kentucky recently, and I think he might be longer and probably more athletic and faster than Joel Berry, and I feel like he can get up and disrupt Joel Berry on defense. So I go Kentucky to the national championship game. If I had Arizona there, I probably would have gone Arizona over North Carolina as well.
I had Arizona and Michigan. Now, to be honest with you, this was a very hard pick, and it probably took me about 10 minutes to complete this, these two teams. I picked Michigan to beat Arizona, and just letting you know, this probably took me about an hour maybe to complete. And I was just like, because the bracket's nuts. But I had Arizona getting beat by Michigan to go to the championship game.
And then I have on the other side Texas Tech, Duke. I wanted to go Texas Tech, but I couldn't convince myself, and I went Duke.
Ooh, so you got the Blue Bloods, huh?
I do.
Ooh.
You had just mentioned, right, it took you a while. I like to do these sometimes, and that's why I'll do multiple ones. But I like to just look at the bracket and quick fill. And that's somewhat what I did here is I went through and I just first impressions off each team, different things I've heard, different things I've seen. It was just a quick hitter, and obviously I haven't watched a lot of Texas Tech games. Not being in my time zone, I'm not going to watch a bunch of them. So I went Duke over Texas Tech for a Duke-Kentucky championship game.
All right, buddy, here we go. I got Villanova and Duke. I'm going to let you guess. Who do you think I have going to the championship game?
I lean towards Villanova for you, but I think you went Duke.
Ooh, you devil. I picked Duke. I think if Villanova and Duke get to the Final Four and they face off against each other, that's going to be one heck of a game. Everybody's going to be going nuts. But I have Duke going to the championship game to face Michigan for the championship.
You are on a Michigan train.
Dude, Michigan's going to get it.
All right, so national championship game, you have Duke, Michigan.
Yep.
I have Kentucky, Duke. I gave a final score for the Kentucky-Duke game, 85-80. And at this point, I went with more of my heart and said Kentucky because I couldn't put Duke in there. But at the same time, I think Kentucky has enough inside to be able to handle Marvin Bagley. And I think Grayson Allen would be disrupted by Kentucky's length. And I think this could be the stumbling block for Duke. So I have Kentucky hitting their right stride. Now, if I were doing this, a Duke-Arizona, because I believe, honestly, the UK-Arizona game, winner of that goes to the championship game. If I were doing Duke-Arizona, I see, honestly, there I can almost do a coin flip.
Now, if I redid this,
but I would probably have to do Duke over Arizona at that point.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, at that point, I think Duke just out-talents
I can agree
Arizona,
with that.
Although I think DeAndre Ayton could also dominate, but that would be a great matchup between him and Marvin Bagley.
Oh yeah, I can totally agree with you on that. If I did this re-over, like if I did another one, I think I'd have North Carolina versus Arizona in the Final Four. But in my championship game, I had Duke winning it all. Now
Final
you would have
score is.
Now I'm thinking this off the fly because I didn't really think about the final score, but I'm thinking it's gonna be 70-79. Duke's gonna win this, dude. I know it. And when I'm right, whatever that wager's gonna be, you're getting it.
All right, so we'll have to figure out the wager between now and our next episode, because we are out of time here. But I think the other thing to also be said is Duke could go and win it all, but Duke could also lose to Iona. We've seen that in the past, right?
Yeah, and I'd be kind of scared.
Like, I look at that Iona and I go, maybe.
Exactly, maybe.
But you never know this time of year. As we get off here, it looks like UCLA might be able to pull away, but at the same time, it's only 49-44 with 9 minutes left in the second half. Still a close game. We're going to get off of here and continue watching this game. See which one of us was right in this game. I took St. Bonaventure. Rylee took UCLA for the win. Either way, we had whoever wins this game beating Florida. So for both of us, it could be a happy ending. So, with all that said, if you have a wager that Rylee and I, if you have an idea for a wager that we should do on our brackets here, or if you want to give us some of your input on our brackets, hit us up on Twitter at R&D Sports Report. Hit us up on Facebook. You can search R&D Sports Report, or you can go facebook.com/RD Sports Report. You can go give us a like there, and that way you're up to date. And go subscribe to this. If you've been listening and you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. But just, go hit the little subscribe button. Go and give us a review.
Give us that 5-star.
Well, and I think you would give Michigan apparently a 5-star rating.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't see why people shouldn't give us a 5-star as well.
Exactly.
Anybody listening up in Michigan, give us a 5-star just for Rylee picking Michigan if you're a Michigan
fans. I got you.
You can interact with us once again on Facebook, on Twitter. Go subscribe. 5-star review. Let us know what you think we should do as far as a wager here for our brackets, and we will keep our eye out. We will be watching a lot of basketball between now and the next time we record this. I'll price it down again on Thursday as we record this one on Tuesday. That way give us another day on Wednesday to watch the first 4 in, watch some hoops on Thursday. Have a lot to talk about going into our next episode, and get into a little bit more other than the NCAA tournament. Got a lot going on in NFL free agency. Going to give our thoughts on that. Some big names landed in a lot of places, but you'll have to come back again next episode later this week to find out what our thoughts are on that, because this will do it for another episode of the R&D Sports Report.